This weekend on ITV, Jeremy Kyle joins in the fun with all the action from Ant and Dec's Saturday Night Takeaway. That's here live from 7. Now though, we find out the nation's favourite 70s number one.
Tonight, we're turning back the clock to celebrate the blockbusting, chart-topping 1970s.
It was fun, it was colourful, and it was different.
It's an amazing chapter in the story of pop.
It was the biggest gamble you could ever take.
The lyrics are controversial.
He said, no, that's too pornographic.
A time when hit records sold in their millions.
The song celebrates the human spirit. He kept saying, well, do you have anything else?
You gotta be a good singer to pull it off. That I can do.
But just what is the nation's favourite 70s number one? It was a groundbreaking era.
The music of the 70s I like to call the golden decade.
When the stars were wild, the fans were wilder,
Those girls wanted to get at their idol.
and the fashions were off the scale.
Everyone tried to look as outrageous as possible.
The 70s had it all, from glam rock to disco, ballads to new wave.
And Jory to Donna Summer, through to the Bee Gees. Amazing.
Tonight, we're revealing the results of our exclusive poll to find Britain's best-loved chart topper.
It's a dream, having number one.
Changed my life, actually.
We get the news, it's number one again. And by about week 7, we're going, oh, God, not everyone's going to really hate us.
We'll hear from the hit makers.
The whole band is going to work. It's working, Mike.
And tell the stories of the most glamorous stars pop music has ever seen.
I always remember him as 29, bubbling, and that's the way I remember it.
It's enough to get you digging out your hot pants and those old 45s. As we go in search of the ultimate 70s number one. We start our countdown in 1974 with a song that heralded the birth of disco and made its sweet-voiced singer an overnight sensation.
It's about love. It's about happiness. It's about dancing.
Oh, you said it, George.
I was just thinking about how endearing it is when your mother's rocking you and that feeling of being rocked by them and comforted. That was really the basis of Rock Your Baby, of just having that motherly love from someone you're really in love with.
When he wrote Rock Your Baby, Harry Wayne Casey hadn't yet found fame himself as the Casey of Casey and the Sunshine Band.
I knew that I had something in that track. It was hypnotic. It was just something magical about it.
But he decided he knew just the man to bring his song to life, even though he was an unknown backing vocalist.
Casey came in and said, Joe, we have a song for you, and it's too high for Casey because Casey cut this track, and it's too high for his voice. But you got a perfect voice for it. We recorded the song in one take. So you sure you got it? Yeah, we got it. Okay, good. What? Keep that.
The silky voice that he had was just perfect for this track. It just became even something bigger than I already knew it was.
I remember buying the single and Mark Bolan and myself and anyone in the room were dancing around the room. When the song finished, we put the needle back onto the beginning again and danced again and again and again. I really, really enjoyed that.
A worldwide hit that also reached number one in the States. This was more than just another UK chart topper. It brought British pop fans a new type of music to dance to.
There never been a Saturday Night Fever movie. There never been a Gloria Gaynor. It started a whole new industry, disco.
Clear the roads and call the fashion police, because at 19 in our exclusive new survey of your favourite 70s hits, it's our first slice of good old British glam rock. Fronted by blonde bombshell Brian Conley, was pop ever sweeter than this?
I always thought Sweet were the ultimate glam rock group. We'd watch Top of the Pops, and the whole family would be there, because the young people want to watch it for the music. Mum wants to know what's going on, and the old man wants to hate it all. Look at how you caught him. It looks like a bloody girl.
You better beware. You better take care. You better watch out if you got long black hair.
For blokes, the Sweet were the pop group for them. Whereas if you asked a girl, she'd say David Cassidy or Donny Osmond, something much prettier.
It was an irresistible #1 record. A lot of people's contributions in there.
You look in his eyes. Don't be surprised if you don't know what's going on behind his disguise.
Brian's really cool vocal.
Where Buster goes, you steal your woman out from under your nose.
And then you get Steve Priest, the bass player, with his wackiness.
We just haven't got a clue what to do.
They looked at me when I wanted them to do these things, and they go, Mike, we're trying to make a pop record. This is not comedy hour here. And I said, trust me, it'll work.
The cops are out. They're running about. Don't know if they'll ever be able to block Buster out.
The weird thing about Blockbuster was that riff that I used in there, da-da-da-da. Unbeknownst to us, David Bowie was using the same groove down the road in another studio. Week apart in releases, same record label. David ended up going to #2. We went to #1, so I guess we won that one.
Fast forward 5 years to 1978, and some post-punk piano. But it was also all about the bass. And the distinctive sound of one of pop's unlikeliest stars. Contracting polio as a child was never going to stop the incomparable Ian Dury.
In the deserts of Sudan and the gardens of Japan.
Ian Dury was a very important artist. He was the first person to sing with his accent.
Every woman's, every man.
Not trying to sound American.
Hit me with your rhythm stick. Hit me, hit me.
And he always said he wasn't a singer. He always said, I'm a sprouter, I'm a wordsmith.
Hit me with your rhythm stick. Hit me slowly, hit me quick.
He was one of the first rappers, really.
To write with Ian was magic. He would slave over lyrics. It could take months or even years. He was a perfectionist.
In the wilds of Borneo and the vineyards of Bordeaux.
What does hit me with your rhythm stick mean?
Eskimo.
He would never be straightforward about that.
Move their body.
I can remember my uncle saying to me, it's a really rude song.
With your rhythm stick. Hit me, hit me. Das ist gut, say. Fantastic.
I think it's got a sexual reference.
Hit me with your rhythm stick. It's nice to be a lunatic.
Hit me. Hit me.
Hit me!
Welcome back to our celebration of the greatest chart toppers from an era when pop was at its peak. We're telling the stories behind 20 #1s from the 70s, as selected by a panel of pop stars, DJs and music industry experts, and revealing the results of our exclusive poll to find out which chart-topping hit the nation loves the most from the decade when it wasn't just the songs that were loud. Ooh, nice tank tops, boys. And at number 17 in our countdown, one of the decade's most flamboyant and outrageous stars. Although on this hit, Elton John was happy to share the spotlight with another singer signed to his label.
The original idea was that I would come along and do a few backing vocals. It was Gus Dudgeon, Elton's producer, who said, no, I think this would work as a duet. So Elton did a version in America, singing the whole song, but he did my parts in a higher voice.
Baby, you're not that
wish I had a copy of that. I put my vocal on. I thought, well, this is a good, fun song. Didn't think too much of it, really. And yeah, had a #1. Can you believe it?
But this wasn't just a career high for Kiki D. After nearly 30 attempts, it would also give Elton his first UK #1 single.
It was rather ironic because he was at that stage he was already a huge star, and he and Kiki together it was kind of almost knockabout, wasn't it? And yet suddenly it just caught the imagination.
Back in 1976, this is what pop videos look like, shot for tuppence in an empty studio.
We did it in about 20 minutes. And I think it's one of the first times that Elton actually stood up and performed. He looks a little bit uncomfortable standing up.
It's one of the most awkward-looking videos in music history because it's unrehearsed. They just went in and they did it, and that was it. There was no MTV. It was only done to promote the single while it was new. If you did a clip like that, you just thought it had a shelf life of 2 months. And so you could just do it, leave the scene of the accident.
Turns out this was one song with more than an 8-week appeal. It cemented a lifelong friendship between the two stars, meaning plenty of chances to bring it to new generations.
This is my locket that Elton gave me. On one side it says, to my #1 girl, and on the other side it says, don't go breaking my heart. I actually sent the identical thing back to Elton, and mine said I couldn't if I tried. It was just a fun thing, a way of thanking him for giving me a #1 record. He changed my life, actually.
At 16, a song that might sound like it's from the 60s, but was actually one of the first hits to ring in the 1970s.
Van der Gold was one of those records, you can put it on the deck, and every girl in the club is on that dance floor dancing. But then you think, since you've been on all that I've left, hang on, this is a wedding night here. This is a bit tragic to be dancing and singing along to.
The lyrics are somewhat controversial. That night on our honeymoon, we stayed in separate rooms. Well, and then she's pleading for him to come back. And love me like you tried before. That gets you to thinking, who was having the problem? Was it the groom or was it the bride?
The truth is, it was about two people that had previous love affairs, and they realized they hadn't gotten over the past love.
Band of Gold was the latest in a long line of hits written by Lamont Dozier and the Holland brothers Brian and Eddie, mostly for the Motown label, which they had recently left. Although you'd never know it looking at the record.
It's listed as Ronald Dunbar and Edith Wayne.
Let me tell you something. We had a situation. We had to use those names because of legal complications.
They were going through a lawsuit with Motown, and they were restricted. They could produce, but they couldn't write songs.
You didn't need to be a genius to know that Wayne and Dunbar was Holland Dozier because it had a great sentiment, had a great beat. It harked back to the magic Motown period. And that great performance from Frida Payne. Just a brilliant, brilliant record.
At 15, we're turning up the volume.
Baby, baby, baby.
the intro sets you up right away when you hear that. You know what's coming. And then it sort of goes...
We always had the feeling that we were the best band in the world. And then when you're at number one in the charts, it proves it.
Come On Feel the Noise was the fourth of Slade's 6 number ones during the 70s and the first to go straight in at the top.
In those days, records almost never entered at number one. But Slade, they had a massive audience, and Come On Feel the Noise is about the fans.
When we played live, it was an extravaganza. So we were responding to the reaction we were getting. And we wrote about the reaction. Come On, Feel the Noise is about the audience joining us in a show and making a row.
People think songs like ours were very easy to write. But it's much easier to write a ballad than it is an uplifting, happy song that's got strong hooks that people will remember year after year. That's really hard.
I think it's the joy of it. Music is a joy, and when people come to a Slade show, I'll guarantee they go away with a smile on their face. Dum jang dang dang dum jang dang dang dum jang dang dang dum. I am sailing. Our own original version of it was a pretty simple, straightforward thing. Acoustic guitar and harmonium and banging a bass drum, and that was about top and bottom. Yeah, we kept it simple. We originate from the northeast of Scotland, a little fishing town called Peterhead. In a way, there's something in our roots is all about the sea and stuff like that, but the actual song Sailing was never really supposed to be about boats and stuff. It's sailing in a sort of spiritual sense.
3 years after the Sutherland brothers wrote their simple spiritual song, another Scot dug out his sailor suit and turned it into one of the biggest hits of the 70s.
I remember hearing it and just not recognising it till I heard the lyrics, because the whole thing was so different.
Obviously, any time anybody does that, if they like the song enough to go to the trouble of recording it, you know, it's a compliment. He's obviously a man of taste, you know. Impeccable.
I thought it was so beautiful. There was something very sort of painful about the song. With Rod Stewart's cracked voice.
When you got a voice like Rod's, people believe what he sings. He's got that ability. He draws you into his vocals.
I think the power of Sailing is that it's very simple. But because it is simple and repetitive, it's easy for people to pick up and sing when they've had a pint or two. It has to become an anthem. People roar it, shout it, laugh at it. Sailing, sailing.
We are sailing, stormy waters, to be near you.
was what happened to that haunting song.
We're celebrating the greatest chart toppers of the 70s, a time when every teenage girl had her favourite heartthrob.
There must be thousands of fans with bedroom walls covered with pictures of the Bay City Rollers.
The 70s, it was kind of the birth of the whole kind of teeny bop era.
And they called it Puppy Love.
So which 70s pin-up was your dream boy?
There was Donny Osmond, this beautiful face, gorgeous voice.
Like last place, they ripped the button off my shirt.
Every little girl's kind of romantic dream. There was David Cassidy. He had a slightly edgy appeal to him. And David Essex. He was homegrown and beautiful. He had the most gorgeous blue eyes.
But there was another cheeky contender in the Battle of the Davids.
I think having something unique is what I had. I had that hairstyle. It was almost like a short page boy. It also left me room to put some glitter on my forehead. People came and started to cut their hair like me, especially the girls. It was great, really.
The power of little girls is terrifying. They have this superhuman strength. They'd pull off the windscreen wipers, the car would be rocking. Those girls wanted to get at their idol.
He just wants to get a glance of him.
There's absolutely no power like it. If you could harness that for good, I don't know what you could do with it, but something big.
Hi there.
From a trio of heartthrob Daves, we're back to the results of our exclusive poll at number 13, with a disco diva called Donna and a game-changing number 1.
I lived at 94 Burlington Road in Coventry with my mum. The postman came at 8:30. The envelope came through the letterbox. I took it open. It was Donna Summer, I Feel Love. I went into my mum's front room on a Danzette record player and put that on and nearly died. My God, what is this?
It was so danceable, I could not sit still. This mechanical sound, the beat, and this wild woman singing this song.
I Feel Love would become one of the most influential chart toppers ever, more or less inventing electronic dance music overnight.
It was this whole new sound. You can play it today, and it still sounds current.
Not that its creators, Giorgio Moroder and Pete Bellotti, realised at the time that they were making pop history.
It'd be very easy to make up this story that we'd invented the future. We knew what we were doing. We didn't. We just did it.
The song began life on a Donna Summer album featuring musical styles from across the ages.
I came up with the idea we'd go through the various times from the sort of the 40s into the future. And then we were thinking, what can we use as a future song?
They thought, in the future, it won't be instruments. It will be synthesizers.
The tempo is fast, and it's pounding away like this machine. And there's this angelic voice at half the speed, ethereally singing over the track. So there's such a juxtaposition, this inhuman machine with the heart on top. Typical thing with Donna was she'd come in the studio and sit talking for a couple of hours, then she'd go, I've got to go, and she'd go in the studio and she'd sing it in one take, then she'd go. She was just a one-take artist, so I don't think she knew either that I Feel Love was that important at the time. No one knew.
Now
ladies and gentlemen, our musical guests, Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons.
In case you're wondering, you are still watching the nation's favourite 70s number one. But at number 12, it's one of the biggest acts of the 1960s, a band who reinvented themselves for a new decade.
The Four Seasons with Frankie Valli had tons of hits in the 60s. They really did. It then got quiet in the 70s.
The song that would put the Four Seasons back on top started out when founder member Bob Gaudio wrote a lyric about the night in 1933 when selling alcohol stopped being illegal in America. Turned out, though, his soon-to-be wife had other ideas.
I heard the track and I said, oh my gosh, those lyrics just don't go with that great track. And I just changed the year. 33 to 63. Thought of a guy and a girl. And a guy's first time, maybe. His first sexual experience. I got mail about that. The Four Seasons were a wonderful, clean group until you came along.
This was the Four Seasons with a new sound and a new lead vocalist, with Frankie Valli, the singer of all their previous hits, just doing this bit in the middle.
To not have Frankie sing lead was a big deal. But Jerry Palci had such an innocent sound to his voice, and it fits so well with the lyric.
My voice is fairly high, very light and airy, and it gives that illusion of a young man singing about his first experience.
This was a milestone hit for the Four Seasons, making them the only act to land a US number one after, during, and before the career of the Beatles.
It's the biggest selling single the Four Seasons ever had. If you're going to come back, that's a good way to do it.
For a number of years, it was the longest running single on the Billboard Hot 100. Went 54 weeks. We got beat out by Who Let the Dogs Out. What are you going to do?
Seems so wrong, but now it seems so right.
And 3 decades on, the song gained a new lease of life in Jersey Boys, the hit musical about the band's career.
You are having the most fabulous night, and oh, what a night. It's just brilliant. You're all on your feet dancing. I've seen it twice. I don't know anyone who hasn't seen the musical at least twice, well, certainly women of my age.
The Jersey Boy musical, that's a phenomenon in itself. The show's been running for 10 years on Broadway. That's like, come on, guys. That's pretty great.
At number 11 in our countdown, it's the first chart topper from one of the decade's hottest and most sadly missed stars.
Mark Bolan made groove records, getting them out of their chairs, onto the dance floor, because there's something infectious and irresistible about the groove that makes a record work.
She's my woman of gold, and she's not very old.
Mark was Mark Feld on the side of the stage.
She's my woman of gold, and she's not very old.
And it was like Clark Kent going in the telephone box. As he went out, he was Mark Bolan then.
When Hot Love hit number 1, the record helped transform Mark Bolan from cult status hippie to teen idol, as T-Rextasy swept the nation.
He saw the young girls screaming, and from that moment onwards, he wanted to be a heartthrob, a pop star, a pin-up.
She's faster than most, and she lives on the coast.
And Mark was so beautiful.
She's faster than most, and she lives on the coast.
This adorable face and this mop of hair.
I'm a two-penny prince, and I give her hot love. Take that on.
But not everyone was so keen on this new crop of guitar-wielding, glitter-wearing pop heroes.
A lot of people criticize your kind of music for the noise that it makes. They say it's too loud.
You're using volume to express yourself, really.
Yes, but many people say that the music is very monotonous, that it
People say a
hammer
lot
and
of
tap.
things about a lot of stuff, you know, most of them aren't always very informed.
When we made Hot Love, I just knew it was a big hit. But it was really a little unusual because it's got 4 verses in a row, and then after about 2 minutes, you finally hear the chorus, which is nothing but the word la 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 la, repeated 20 times in each chorus.
When we saw him on the TV, you feel proud, but you always don't want anything to go wrong.
It seemed that everything was going right for Mark Bolan. Hot Love was the first of 4 chart toppers in 2 years, but changing fashions would soon see new heroes take Mark's place in the spotlight. And tragically, Mark Bolan was to leave the stage way too soon when he died in 1977 in a car crash near his West London home.
I've thought sometimes, well, I wonder what he would have been like now. You never know. It ended on September the 16th. You have to live with it. There's no way you can get somebody back. So I always remember him as 29, bubbling, and that's the way I remember it.
We're celebrating the greatest #1 singles of the 70s. A decade where to reach the top spot, songs needed to be classic pieces of perfectly crafted pop perfection. Each one a timeless masterpiece.
Sing lofty. Why do you whisper green grass? Why tell the trees what
The 70s were confused. Really confused.
I got friendly acres and you got fun and free.
There were no rules.
I got a brand new combine officer, I'll give you the key.
Something very unique about the British charts is that anything goes.
Airplanes tied up with string, flying.
We had #1 records in the 70s made by a guy called Clive Dunn, who was in Dad's Army.
A radio and phonograph.
The charts were just crazy.
This one's still at #1 for about the 3rd week running, Benny Hill.
I've always thought popular music is there to be enjoyed.
His name was Ernie, and he drove the fastest milk cart in the world.
People didn't take life so seriously, and certainly popular music so seriously.
And he drove the fastest milk cart in the West.
And at #10 in our countdown, it's the biggest novelty hit of the decade. From 6 New Yorkers who raided the fancy dress box and top charts worldwide with a song on the unlikeliest of subjects.
Young man, there's no need to feel down. I said, young man, pick yourself off the ground. I said, young man, 'cause you're in a new town. There's no need to.
The whole thing is nutty from the beginning. The Frenchman, Jacques Morelli, who had assembled the group, learned about this place called the YMCA, the Young Men's Christian Association. It would never have occurred to anyone to make a tribute to the YMCA, but to a Frenchman, this is a great place. This is a temple.
It's fun to stay at the
YMCA became a disco and a gay anthem.
YMCA. They have everything for your men to enjoy. You can hang out all the boys. It's fun to stay.
There was nearly going to be a court case over it. But the actual YMCA were wise enough to realize that this is the greatest plug we could ever get.
The song became an unstoppable #1 around the world. One that would grace the playlist of a million parties to come.
It's released and it leaps through the gay community in about 5 seconds into the mainstream.
The men in uniform would go on to have 3 more top 30 hits, but it's the song's unique dance moves that have proved the longest-lasting legacy of all.
It's weird in a way because everybody's making your body into the shape of letters. Nobody says to themselves, actually, why are we doing it?
It makes no sense that this ever happened, but it's just a perfect pop record.
Time to have a sit down now and get our breath back with a song that proved simply breathtaking.
One of my favorite number ones of the 70s was I'm Not in Love by 10cc. They were a very clever pop group.
Part of 10cc was trying to do stuff that was fresh and new and original.
And it was typical of one of the 70s most unpredictable bands to have a love song with a very different type of title.
I think it certainly wouldn't have been a number one if it was called I Am in Love. A great title is always a great help.
So don't forget it. It's just a silly phase I'm going through.
I love that record. It's so unlike anything. It's just stream of sound.
I call you up. Don't get me wrong.
The first recording of it we did as a bossa nova. It was ditched. But the song stayed with us, and we knew that we had to do it in a different way. Lowell had the idea that we would maybe do it purely vocally and have no instruments on it at all.
I'd like to see you, but then again.
The idea was to use voice sounds, R's, the sound of R.
We wanted this massive choir. The problem was that there were only 4 of us.
Don't make a fuss.
We spent a week going, ah, and then the next note, ah. So we had a whole scale of notes recorded 16 times.
So every fader would have a ah, 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 would have a different note.
The end product was way beyond anything I'd imagined it would be. We played it to death, loud, on the big speakers. It was a thrill, I have to say. It was magic.
At number 8, another classic love song, and a story tinged with tragedy, sung by Harry Nilsson and with one of the most recognisable intros ever.
The piano part came right in the studio. I listened to the song and I just came up with this kind of rolling piano. And it kind of set the atmosphere, what was going to come afterwards, of course, with Harry's voice.
No, I can't forget this evening or your face as you were leaving. But I guess that's just the way the story goes. You always smile, but in your eyes, your sorrow.
There's a sweetness the way he starts to sing the song.
Yes, it shows.
Just outstanding. Such a beautiful voice.
No, I can't forget tomorrow when I think of all my sorrow. Well, I had you.
And I know that Paul McCartney and John Lennon really admired the way Harry was singing.
And now it's only fair that I should let you know.
He sings it with such soul and such feeling. You think, well, he must have written it. And then you realise, actually written by 2 guys from a British band. Badfinger.
Badfinger was signed to the Beatles' own label, Apple. And when Harry Nilsson first heard their original version of Without You, he thought it was an obscure track from the Fab Four.
Without You sounds like something that the Beatles would have written. And so I can see where the confusion came in.
Well, I can't forget this evening or your face as you were leaving.
It's a great song, but he made it his own. He was quite a tortured soul, definitely got that troubled side. And so that comes across in the singing.
Always smile, but in your eyes
Harry definitely gets into the song, and he transports it with his emotion. And then he suddenly goes up. It's fantastic. If I hear that song, every time I feel very sad. You think of this guy who was a big friend of mine, messing up his whole life. It was very sad, the whole last period. He was never seen without the brandy bottle. This man could have lived so much longer.
After many years struggling with alcoholism, Harry Nilsson died of heart failure in 1994, aged just 52. And the lives of the two band members who wrote Without You would also both end in tragedy after bitter disputes over royalties for the song.
Life can be so unfair, especially in the music business. But for Peter Ham and Tom Evans, who wrote that song, never to have really financially benefited from it is just so unjust. And sadly, they both committed suicide. If they'd have got the recognition and the financial rewards for that song, would their lives have ended so tragically? You just don't know.
At 7, we're in 1978, the year Britain turned disco, and a song that launched a million wannabe John Travoltas onto our dance floors.
When the Bee Gees went and did the music for Saturday Night Fever, they made the one album that made disco. Suddenly, we've got the medallions, the hairy chests, but boy, did we have magnificent songs.
Well, the Bee Gees were machine perfect at what they did. I admire them a lot.
When the brothers would write, melodies and rhythms would come out.
Are we ready to sing?
We never used to say, I wonder if this is a hit, just how many weeks this will be at #1.
Barry was, in those days, a real heartthrob. But then, of course, in your mind, it was also associated with John Travolta. You could picture John Travolta while you were listening to it, and that was an added bonus.
But when Travolta filmed his part in this movie about disco, it still didn't have a soundtrack. Cue a phone call to the Gibb brothers from their manager, Robert Stigwood.
Robert called us in the studio and said, we've got this idea for a movie from a newspaper article called Tribal Rights of a New Saturday Night. That won't be the title of the film, but can you come up with any ideas? And I said, well, yeah, I got this one called Night Fever. And he said, no, that's too pornographic. And so he just stuck Saturday on the beginning of it, and it made more sense.
Night Fever would be just one of 6 Fiji's penned classics to end up on the soundtrack. And it gave the band their 3rd UK #1 single.
Night Fever is the perfect dance music for beginners. It's mass movement. Even today, when people want to dance, the first thing I do is put Night Fever on. 3 walks forward, a touch and a clap, 3 walks back, touch and a clap, and suddenly people discover they're dancing. You're on your way.
We're celebrating the chart toppers of the 1970s, a decade of great music and an even greater range of musical styles.
It's such a great decade for a mix of music. You've got your glam rock, you've got heavy rock. You've got some cheesy pop.
The 70s was a time when soul music had an orchestra.
You're the first, my last, my everything.
This was very much a classic sound of the 70s.
All of my dreams.
The 70s era for me was absolute heaven because I just love that disco sound. The only thing that let it down for me a bit, punk came in, and I hated that.
Come on, Tony, where would music and fashion be now if punk hadn't happened, even if it didn't have a number one? Never mind, I think Mr. Blackburn would approve of the all-spinning, all-sparkling song coming up next.
Gloria Gaynor, I Will Survive, has really remained relevant to this very day.
First I was afraid, I was petrified. Kept thinking I could never live without you by my side. But then I spent so many nights thinking how you did me wrong. And I grew
It is the perfect anthem for a woman scorned. When you're absolutely bereft, you've been destroyed, you're really depressed.
I should have changed that stupid lock. I should have made you leave your key.
Put that music on and dance your heart out. It's very cathartic.
On the dance floor, you see all the girls going like that to the men, and so I don't need you. Which they don't really, do they? Let's be honest about it.
Weren't you the one who tried to hurt me with goodbye? You think I'd crumble? You think I'd lay down and die? Oh, no, not I will survive.
I can relate so well to everyone who comes to me and tells me a story about their song. Women tell me that they've been empowered to walk away from difficult marriages. Lots of young people tell me that it encouraged them to get through exams in college. I've had men tell me that it encouraged them to go out one more time and look for that job. The song celebrates the tenacity of the human spirit.
This uplifting message of triumph against the odds even inspired Gloria herself when she was recording the song.
But now I hold my head up high and you see me. Somebody new.
When I first stepped up to the microphone to record I Will Survive, I had recently had surgery on my spine. I was still in a back brace, and people were going around the record company saying the Queen is dead, but I survived. So this song was pulling me forward in a way that I hoped that it would do for everyone who listened to it.
It's amazing to think that this disco classic almost slipped through the net.
It was the B-side. And, you know, and I remember finding it on the B-side, not the A-side, which I think was Substitute.
When I heard it, I knew that it should be the A-side. And while the record company refused to even listen to it, I still believed in it, and I took it to Studio 54. The song was played in the clubs, began to be requested in clubs, and then people began to request it from the radio stations. So I would say I Will Survive was a grassroots hit.
We're into the top 5 now with the chart-topping debut single of a musical maverick.
Kate came out to my flat and she said, I've written this new song. And she started to play ding, 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 ding. It was Wuthering Heights. I said, do you think that's good enough to go on the record? I thought, yes.
Wuthering Heights was a 70s number one like no other.
You had a temper like my jealousy, too hard to greet.
A song based on a classic novel which soared to the top of the pop charts.
When I needed to possess you, I hated you, I loved you too. Bad dreams in the night.
When I heard Wuthering Heights, I thought, now this is as strange as it gets for a pop song.
Leave behind my walking through the heights.
I knew the book. And here's this eerie banshee, Kathy the ghost singing to Heathcliff.
She moved and flailed and her eyes were dancing. Everything was in the face.
Kate is an example of an artist following what they really want to do and not caring about trends whatsoever. This is what I do, I like it, I believe in it, and the people buy it.
This is history in the making because it's the first #1 in the history of the British chart by a woman, written by that woman. This was the first time, and she was a teenager.
Kate was extraordinary because she had this incredible vocal power, but because she was a trained dancer, she could dance and sing at the same time.
A year after Wuthering Heights topped the charts, Kate reproduced the multitasking performance of her songs on stage in a groundbreaking but seemingly never to be repeated tour.
It is rather an elaborate show that you're doing. Were many people involved in sort of the whole concept, or was it basically all your idea?
Well, the major concept is basically mine. I've had a lot of help from people, and we've all worked together, really.
I went to see her at the Palladium. I don't think I've seen such an amazing show. The acting, the dancing, the creativity from someone so young.
Ever unpredictable, last year the largely reclusive singer surprised everyone once more.
No doubting Kate Bush's return is the hottest ticket in town. It's a concert her fans have waited 35 years for.
Yes, after just the 3 decades, Kate Bush was once again singing and dancing live.
You get all the rumours, where's Kate, what's happened to her, blah, blah, blah. And then suddenly, typical her, she comes back and blows everyone away again. Just as sensational as all those years ago.
At #4, a song that saw a band of former punks cross the great musical divide to dabble in disco. And in the process, become global superstars.
It was an old song that had been around for quite a while, maybe 4 years.
We tried it as a blues, we tried it as a rock song. We tried it as a Latin flavor. And nothing really seemed to fit.
Enter the band's new producer, Mike Chapman, best known at the time for writing and producing hits for Sweet, Susie Quattro, and Mud.
We were playing him the songs that we had prepared, and then he kept saying, well, do you have anything else? And then we said, well, we've got this old thing, you know.
They played me the song, and I said, it's a bit reggae at the moment, and maybe we should do something different with it. Who do you like out there? She said, Donna Summer, Giorgio Moroder's music. That was the last thing I thought she was going to say. He was the first techno producer. So that's where we started reconstructing the song.
So in New York City in the summer of '78, Chapman and the band got down to creating a perfect slice of electro-pop very slowly.
These days, just close your eyes and hit a button, it all happens. But in those days, you had to do it. And the whole process had got on everybody's nerves. Nobody was having fun. It was just hard work. But when she stepped up to the mic and that beautiful wispy voice started coming out, suddenly the whole record, there it was.
Debbie's vocal is great. It's very aloof and cool, but also heated.
As we enter the top 3, we're staying in New York City for an uplifting classic from one of music's greatest ever duos.
Paul called me. He was on East End Avenue in his flat. Artie, you gotta come up. I think I wrote my best song. Be right there.
To me, Paul Simon is right up there with Lennon and McCartney as the greatest songwriters of the modern era. And Artie's incredible voice captured what Paul was writing.
When you're weary, feeling small, when
The first verse sets it all up with a delicacy so that they never can expect where you're going to go. So stay super fine. But when you work super fine, you go crazy. That first verse took me 8 recording sessions. It's so frustrating to almost get what you want and not get it. At one point, I took a break, went down the block to Park Avenue. There's the St. Bartholomew's Church. I'm going to get prayerful and commune with the bigger forces. And when I came back, there it was, the control I was looking for.
That was a song that had heart and soul. It almost had a feeling of a religious kind of concept.
For anybody going through a difficult time, it's a fabulous, positive message to put across.
When you're on the street, when evening falls so high, I will comfort you.
Yeah, it's a large theme and it's universal.
I'll take your part.
Unless you know somebody that's never been hurting.
When darkness comes.
That song means a lot to me personally because I had cancer and I knew I was going to have time off for treatment. I had to explain to my radio audience why I was going to be missing. So I just said I've been diagnosed with cancer. And I'd like to play this for all those who are going through the same thing and those who are caring for them. Such an important song.
The song was meant to be 2 verses. Paul wrote it as a little hymn, he says. Little, 2 verses. And I said to Paul, this could be a 3-verse song, and the 3rd verse could be the opening up of the record. You slip in the strings, and you bring in a sliding electric bass. The 3rd verse is about going for a pop hit.
Sail on, silver girl.
Sail on, silver girl, your time has come to shine. This is inspirational, somewhat stock language. Language that belongs in the world of pop hits. I think Paul would say, it wasn't quite the tender message I had in mind. It was more of a calculated commerciality, but whatever works, works. The record lifts up, and now it's goosebumps. You follow where the goosebumps take you. By the time I come to the end of the song, they've been with me on a sincere trip, an exchange. I would like to take the lucky gift I got from the Lord in being a singer and have it be of use to you.
So how do you top that? How about with the nation's favourite 70s number 1, which we'll be revealing after the break. We're counting down the results of our exclusive ITV poll of the 20 greatest number 1s from the golden musical decade that was the 1970s. And we're down to the final pair as 2 chart giants go head to head. And at 2, the Swedish group that made the whole world dance.
The music just made you feel good. It made you want to dance and jump up.
I am an ABBA fan. Always have been. Dancing Queen is great pop music. End of story.
With the film of Mamma Mia, when I hear it now, I just think holiday, dancing, beach, fun, happiness.
Friday night and the lights are low.
And we need a bit of cheering up.
Looking out for a place to go. Where they play the right music. Yeah.
And so it was, on a summer day in 1975, that this 7-inch slice of musical sunshine was shaped.
Dancing Queen was written at Agnetta's and my house, summer house on a little island. Glorious weather, really idyllic. Right there, almost the wilderness. Below, you would see sailing boats and yachts, and we would write away.
40 years on, ABBA's songs have stood the test of time. But this was a band that, in its day, split the record-buying public straight down the middle.
70s was very much split into top 40 pop music and your album stuff, your Led Zeppelin and all of that. And ABBA was seriously uncool. Now you can appreciate ABBA in a completely new way.
The cynics can go shoot themselves, I don't care. They were the perfect pop band.
Great songs, great music, everlasting music.
So as ABBA sail off into a perfect Scandinavian sunset, our journey's almost over. We've thrown our best 70s shapes. We've fallen in love. And been not in love too. We've shown no lack of flair and sparkled like there was no tomorrow. And now it's time to reveal which number one has been voted the greatest chart topper of the 70s. From over 150 number ones in the decade, well, there could only be one winner, couldn't there? Are you ready, Freddie?
Is this the real life?
Well, it wasn't a song, it was a mini opera.
Is this just fantasy?
It's a pretty awesome bit of recording.
Caught in a landslide, no escape from reality.
When I first heard Bohemian Rhapsody,
Open your eyes,
I was gobsmacked.
look up to the skies and see.
I thought it was one of the greatest masterpieces that the British ever produced.
I'm just a poor boy. I need no
Bohemian Rhapsody has been the UK number one twice, spending 14 weeks in the top spot.
high, little low.
It's the only song to have been number one in 4 different years. And now the nation has spoken. Bo Rap is your favourite 70s number one. It's a song that was the brainchild of Queen's charismatic frontman, Freddie Mercury.
Just killed a man.
Freddie said, I've got something to play you on piano. So I went over to his house and it wasn't ready to go. It was just him doing a verse.
Life had just begun, but now I've gone and thrown it all.
It still wasn't finished at the time we started recording. So when we started recording, we would twizzle around a bit and then add some more and then add some more, and it just got longer and longer and longer.
I'm not back again this time tomorrow. Carry on, carry on. Nothing really matters.
It was a complete flight of fancy and the biggest gamble you could ever take. Everybody told us radio wouldn't play it because it was too long and too complex and it didn't fit into any particular style.
Too late. My time has come. Sent shivers.
But nevertheless, we felt it was us and it was the right gamble to put out there. It worked hands down.
Goodbye, everybody.
and it was a lifesaver.
The massive success of Bohemian Rhapsody came in the nick of time for Queen, as the band were heavily in debt and might even have called it a day. But the song's huge impact wasn't just down to its unique sound.
It takes on more fascination because of the historic role of its little film, which is credited with starting the video age.
There have been other music videos before Queen, but they hadn't been used as this one was used to promote the record.
I'll always remember Freddie saying to me, "Oh, yesterday afternoon we made a short film with Bruce Gowers." He didn't think, "We have changed the future of rock and roll," but they had.
I see a little silhouette of a man. Scaramouche, will you do the fandango?
In 1975, technically television was really limited. It was tough to do what we did. Multi-echoes, that was tough.
The idea behind the video's distinctive imagery was to reflect the song's complex harmonies.
He's just a poor boy from a poor family, sparing his life from this monstrosity. Easy come, easy go, will you let me go? Bismillah, no, we will not.
And the top bits of those harmonies came courtesy of drummer Roger Taylor.
I was more featured on the high parts because I had that sort of cutting high note.
And the climax of the now famous opera bit in the middle would see Roger Taylor's vocal range tested to the limit.
Just a pair of pliers and a sadistic roadie, and I managed to reach that note. I don't think I could reach it anymore. It would take a very nasty situation.
Bohemian Rhapsody first hit the top spot in November 1975 and stayed there for an astonishing 9 weeks.
We get the news every Tuesday. It's #1 again, and about week 7 we're going, oh God, everyone's going to really hate us. You get very blasé very quickly. When it does drop, you think, wish it was still there, you know, but it was remarkable.
The reason it's still beloved is the fact is it still sounds fresh.
It's a great song. It's a great creation. I think it's endlessly fascinating. It never grows old.
And the nation's favourite 70s number ones album is available now on CD and download. Over on ITV2 tonight, poking fun at the great and the good. We've the Keith Lemon sketch show next. Stay with us here for the news.